What's up? Alright, I was thinking I'm going to do a video on painting my surfboard from literally scratch. What's up? Alright, I was thinking I'm going to do a video on painting my surfboard from literally scratch, because I know a lot of you out there that want to paint a board. There's so many friction points, like cleaning the board, coming up with an idea to paint, what paint to use, when to do it. So yeah, I'm going to basically show you. There's a board that I've been wanting to paint for probably like a month now. I bought it off this one I bought brand new. Sometimes I buy them marketplace and I want to test them out for a couple of surfs to make sure they're the right board for me before I paint them. But this one I actually bought brand new from a surf store here in Manly in Sydney, Australia. And I put wax on it because I wanted to surf it straight away, and I ended up surfing it for a month straight without painting it because I myself, I have as many paint pens to my availability as possible, but I still struggle with finding time to, de-wax the board, clean it, prep it and paint it. But I've been holding this board under my arm for so long right now, and it just doesn't feel right having a board that's blank and it's got no character and feel about it. It just feels like the same board as, I don't know, everyone else, and it doesn't give it that kind of unique feel to it. And that's kind of how it really started. The Surf Paints journey is kind of giving it that kind of unique feel, which helps improve the experience. And fortunately now we're in all these cool art stores and schools are getting on board, and we found that the paint pens are actually really good for all surfaces. So it's not just surfboards. But yeah, I just thought I'd try something different. It's Sunday evening here, and it's a little bit overcast. I'm in my half study. I've got an office down the road, but I sometimes work about 50% from home in this little old building in Freshwater, New South Wales. But it used to be packed with boxes until we just started getting so many orders that we've now put it to a warehouse out in Western Sydney, kind of where Amazon is, and that's where our orders get shipped out, because they can just do it so much quicker than us. When there's 100 orders a day, we can't do that. Well, I can't do that. I was doing that, and then I was getting someone to help me do it, and then but getting back on topic, let's fucking go. Wax combs do a similar job. So use the sharp blade, not the blunt blade. You want to use this kind of chisel side, and then if you go like that, you'll see it starts taking off the wax. However, it's actually coming off really good, so this might work. Because it's overcast, usually you need a bit of sun, but I am super impressed with how this wax paint scraper is going. Wowee. So yeah, if you can do that, you're laughing. All right, so we've cleaned the board. You can now put the board back on. Now it's kind of half raining outside and I'm in this tiny little protected zone, but obviously I would love a studio to do this, probably better, but I realize if I don't do it now, it won't get done and this will be another painted board without content. So that's why I'm doing it real raw, and showing you how most of the time it gets painted instead of in a nice private studio with good lighting. Let's get into it. So this is what I'm going to need. I'm going to need my paint pens. So for today I'm going to go black, and it's a thick black, which is a 15mm nib, which this one hasn't been used, which is good. Sometimes they've been used in here. So we'll show you how to prime that, which will be good to see. And the reason this one's thicker is it helps spread the paint out way quicker and way better than something like a 4mm, which is our standard size, because these are fantastic, but they can take a bit longer to color in. So that's when you'd go for the 15 for thicker sizes. And we have them in the fluoro because I used to spray paint my boards fluoro, because fluoro is quite like a nice color when you're surfing, and it was quite famous in the 70s, 80s, the fluoro boards. But I decided to make fluoro paint pens because you can travel with them and just simply color your board without having a spray paint, and anyone can do it and it gives the same effect. So that was the purpose behind the 15mm fluoros, for those wondering. But yeah, I'm going to use a black, but I'm going to actually use a pink, just a soft primary pink, because this was what I did last time, and if I do that this time, I know what to do. It looks sick, nothing complex. So for people out there that are not artists and scared to paint their boards because they don't know what to do, well, this is what we're going to do. And check it out, we've got these chisel nibs as well available if you want to swap in your nibs. So for example, if you have a white and you want to use a chisel shape, you can just take it out like that and replace it, which is pretty cool. And then this, I don't actually sell this, but this is a cool thing which I'll show you soon, which shows us how to spread the paint out like spray paint. So stay tuned for that one. All right, first things first is I'm literally going to probably use pink first, because the black will outline the pink. So with the pink, it's not primed. So we are gonna prime it on here, and all you have to do is just a couple of big presses. Make sure you shake it, and that's actually come out beautifully. You should be able to see that nice and smooth. You'll be able to. So that's coming out perfect. So this video is not going to teach you how to draw, and you guys don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to show you how I would paint my board really quickly. You could use the pencil in the starter kit to pencil it out, but for me, I know what I'm going to do, so it's just going to be kind of like a random pink for the deck, because if you make it all black, black can get really hot in the sun. So if you do it like that, you can risk your wax kind of melting all the time. Oh, I've already made a mistake, which is good, because I'll show you how to fix if you make a mistake. So right now, that's kind of my vibe. I just like randomness. And that can come in like that. That can come in like that. So I'm going to color in that with pink. But if I colored in like this for ages, it would look really cool. Don't get me wrong. And for a tip for you painters out there is don't ever paint like this. See how it's all scratchy? Don't do it like that. It will not be smooth. It will look uneven. It'll have white dots. When you paint with a paint pen, make sure that you do kind of like, think of it as a block, right? And you're coloring in that block. Nice and smooth and consistent. Especially with opaque colors, because you want them to be full and rich. Whereas if you do it without being like that, look at this. If you do it like that and going too aggressive and too hard, you'll see that it's got these little streak signs in them, and you have little white dots, and then you'll dry and then you'll go over it and it'll look like uneven. So that's just a little tip. But to do this way quicker, and it also gives out a cool effect, is we are going to get these bad boys. So that's pretty clean. They comes in the kit. And what you do is you get a bit of water, and you spray the water over it. And if it's still a bit wet, then you can just simply drag the paint out. Now I put way too much water on, so that's good. These are good to have these mistakes, because if you see water patches like that, it means there's way too much water for the acrylic paint. So a good way is to just simply dab more acrylic paint there. Make sure this is not too watered, so you might want to use the rag or something to just kind of get it off, get that water off, and start dry. And so that's a bit better. That should fill it in. See how it's filling it in better. And then for me, because we're going to be circling with the black after, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be reasonably within the lines for my design, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm painting over the shadow sign, but I'll show you how to get rid of that line in a second, because that's important. You don't want to have these like little bubbles, because those bubbles basically are little water bottles, and they don't dry or set. So then when you go to seal your surfboard, basically what happens is it cracks, they pop the bubbles, and then all your work in that area doesn't become permanent. So this is a good way. I know I said don't do this for coloring in blocks, but this is perfectly okay to do if you want to spread the paint out. So I haven't put any water on this one, so let's see. So if you don't put water on it, see, it's actually a richer pink, which is kind of cool. and the clear coat will fix the paint into the board, because right now this is glass. So like if I did the finger test, right, the pink is pretty much dry, but the black's not. But going back to what I was saying is, this paint will never be able to seep into the board because it's glass and there's no pores for the glass to go in. It just sits on top. So then once you apply a varnish, a spray, that traps it in. So then there's like a barrier to protect it, and then the paint sits under there. Whereas if you have porous surfaces like wood and stuff like that, or plaster wood, it will go into it and seep into the little pores of the wood, and then it's permanent because its pores keep it protect it, but you can still apply a varnish to further protect it, if that makes sense. Cool. Okay, final step of, I've got my board nice and painted. I left this overnight, and you know, it's pretty painted up. It's all dry. So that was, 8 hours. I recommend leaving it for a minimum of kind of 60 to 120 minutes to fully dry your paint before applying the varnish. But the longer you leave it, the better. It's going to seep into the board. The pens actually dry in 2 minutes. The paint pens, the surf paints paint pens can dry in as quick as 2 minutes. But I wouldn't put this over your paint pen at least 60 minutes after it's been dried. I left mine for 8 hours, so I feel comfortable with that. It's not coming off. So now we've got to put this on, because this is going to protect this from wear and tear, from throwing in the car, from fingernails, everything that could rip the paint off. Now, if you were painting something like glass window, you probably don't need to use a varnish, because you don't need it to protect from friction applied to it, whereas surfboards get a heavy friction, and like I said in the other video, they can't seep into the glass, so the paint's on top of the surface. So in order to trap, this spray paint is going to set over the top of the painted project, and then once it dries, it creates this barrier that I can't get to the paint underneath, and that makes it permanent for non-porous surfaces like this surfboard. So when we find a spray, you go to your local hardware or art store for now. Surf Paints will hopefully sell it, but because of the flammable item, it's very difficult for us to ship worldwide, or in Australia at least. So we're working on this. So for now, you need to use keywords acrylic, and it needs to be fast drying. Now, fast drying is usually anywhere under an hour. That's a fast drying spray. Any quicker than an hour is better, but this one I've tested before. It's really good. I use keywords, acrylic, and then I look at the drying time anywhere under an hour. So I got this from Bunnings, and I've used it before. We're going to shake it up for at least 30 seconds. Just make sure the paint's evenly, because that's what the ball does. It shakes it. It makes there's no like little blobs or anything like that, because if there's any blobs, that's when you're going to have inconsistent paint. Now, always spray in an outdoor environment. This is outdoorsy enough. It's got enough airflow. Do like a quick test spray. Yep, that's coming out evenly. Wear a mask. So I've got a just like a COVID mask on, just something to protect you from inhaling it. That's going to further protect you. So the aim here is to apply 3 coats, right? First coat's going to be nice and light, nothing crazy, and I'm going to come from one angle. The second coat's going to be nice and light, and I'm going to come from another angle, and then the third coat's going to be a nice heavier coat. That's all you need to do. Now, always allow at least kind of 5 minutes in between each coat. I know I said 60 minutes for it to fully dry, but that's okay when you're spray painting a board to actually just apply light coats and not wait the full 60 minutes, because you'll be there forever. But when you finally finish the last coat, that's when you should wait. Definitely 60 minutes, but I would wait 8 hours if you can. But we'll take you through it so it's not so confusing. So hopefully my camera's got it good. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide what angle to come from. So I'm going to probably spray that angle, and then on the way back I'll come from a different angle. So we're simply just nice and light like this. That's fine. Nice and light. Just going over the board like this. Very light, swooshing motion, about probably 10 to 15 centimeters away. That's good. Now, also, I already got that bit, but do the rails as well. A lot of people miss the rails. So just hold it and walk along the rails. Good. Sweet. So it's been about 5 minutes, and it's all dry. You can test with your fingers to make sure that it's already dry. And if it's not wet on your finger, you can do the second coat. So second coat, same thing, but I'm coming from a different angle. And going from a different angle is going to give you more coverage of the varnish, because it's very easy to miss spots. But if you come from all angles, you just increase your chances of getting everything. So this is the second one. We're just going nice and light. Same kind of thing, swooshing motion, just over the top of the board, 10 to 15 centimeters, very light coat. You don't want any pools of spray paint, because what we're doing is just creating that kind of base layer, and then the last layer we can go a little bit heavier. But yeah, so always come back to the rails, same thing. Make sure you do the rails, because the rails, they get a lot of wear and tear from duck dives and throwing in cars, and that's where you hold them, so it's important. So boom. That's 2 layers looking really good. So we're going to wait another 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to touch it with my finger, and if it's dry, I'm going to do the third coat. Okay, final coat. Touch the board, nice and dry, not wet. Everywhere is covered. So that was about 10 minutes that one took. I waited. So it's had 2 light coats. Now we're going to apply one more coat, and that should make your board perfectly permanent. So yeah, you should be able to surf that, and the paint should last forever, unless you apply maybe very heavy friction, or you need to remove with acetone or something like that. But yeah, we're going to do this side, and then I'll do the other side off camera, and then your board's ready to varnish. So for the last coat, the first 2 we went real quick, and we came from that angle, and then we came from that angle. So the third coat doesn't really matter what angle you want to choose, because there's not many more angles you can go from. So I'm just going to kind of stand over the top of it really, and yeah, probably walk to, I don't know, we'll work it out. But yeah, the last coat, I'm just going to hold the nozzle down and keep it in the same area just that little bit longer. That's what I mean by heavier. Like light, I went quite quick, and soft, and I was up 10, 15 centimeters. The third coat's just going to be that little bit longer in the same area. So you'll see. Right now we'll start on the tail, so just giving it a little bit more, bit slower in the same area. This one I'm kind of going left to right. I think I said swooshing last video, sweeping motion I meant, sorry. Sweeping motion, left, right, same area, just that little bit longer. Now, I missed this area at the start, so I'll just go Cool. Now, it's quite fumy, so make sure you've got a mask on. Like, even something like that is fine, just a COVID mask, just to protect yourself from inhaling it in. Some people have proper paint masks, that's even better, but definitely needs to be in an outdoor environment, and wearing a mask, like, non-essential. It's quite toxic, this stuff. All right, now I'm gonna do the rails. Oh, hit my head. It's raining in Sydney, so I'm going to bring this in because it's raining, and then there you go. That board has been fully varnished, and once I let that dry, I could probably wait for just 20 minutes, and then I can flip it over and do the same 3 on the bottom, and then this board's pretty much ready to surf today. I'll give it, depending on the conditions. But yeah, letting it dry, basically you just need to do the test. If your finger is not wet, it's sealed. But I recommend minimum 60 minutes for it to fully dry. If you can leave it overnight for 8 hours, like you're doing everything by the book. But 60 minutes, the paint should be set and dry and fully water resistant. The reason I only waited 5 to 10 minutes in between coats, because it was dry enough for me to apply another coat over, and it wasn't going to go in the water or anything like that. But if you're going to go in the water and use it with the outside elements, definitely give it the full 60 minutes to dry. I hope this makes sense, and if you want any more tips or tricks or instructions, please let us know. So the varnish can, this one's a Duro Dulux Max. I chose gloss. You can choose matte or semi-gloss. So matte's more of a flat finish, gloss brings out the colors. I like gloss, unless I was going for a more kind of faded, less bright appeal. But gloss tends to bring out the best of Surf Paint's pens. See, this is used, like, this is a general, like, use spray can. It's not necessary for surfboards, so don't worry about that. In fact, the best varnishes are automobile varnishes for cars, because cars need the highest grade quality paint. So you might even go into some car stores and find an acrylic gloss clear, but they'll be more expensive than a hardware one. So it depends on what you want. If you want the best, go to an automotive store. They'll have the highest grade acrylic sprays. But if you're happy with just like a hardware arts and craft or / DIY project one, then you're just looking for keywords acrylic, and drying time is quite quick. But yeah, drop in the comments what some other brands you've used. I'd be interested to know what's out there, whether it's in Australia or America or anywhere else in the world. It's always good to know some cool brands to recommend to customers. But yeah, hopefully we can come out with our own one this year. Otherwise, we'll try to resell some of the best brand ones to go alongside our Surf Paint's pens. But yeah, this is crucial for making your surfboard art permanent. So you can, so that's already drying now. So you can basically surf and not worry that your art's going to come off. So yeah, you can see there's some wet patches there. Not sure if you can see that on camera, but that just goes to show this still needs a good 60 minutes to fully dry. But once all the wet patch is gone, I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing. This board will be ready to surf. Cool.